Welcome back to Wisdom for Modern Living. In a world that never stops talking, stillness has become a forgotten art. Every moment we are surrounded by noise, not just the noise of traffic, crowds, and screens, but the noise of thoughts, opinions, worries, and endless wanting. Our minds have become highways of distraction. We wake up to notifications. We scroll before we breathe. We fill every silence with music, every pause with movement, every quiet moment with more content. But there's a cost we rarely notice until it's too late. The cost is clarity. The cost is peace. The cost is ourselves. In ancient times, philosophers, mystics, and sages all understood something we have almost forgotten, that truth and wisdom are not found in noise, but in silence. That clarity is not something we chase, it is what remains when we stop chasing. Lao Tzu wrote, "Be still. The mud settles and the water becomes clear." The Stoics called it ataraxia, a state of undisturbed calm. The Buddhists called it samadhi, the stillness of a mind unified and awake. And in the Western mystic tradition, silence was seen as the place where the soul meets the divine. Stillness is not absence, it is presence, deep, alive, unshakable presence. It's what remains when the noise fades. It's the quiet center that has always been there, beneath the storms of thought. But why do we fear silence so much? Why does stillness feel to many people uncomfortable, even unbearable? Because in stillness, we meet ourselves, and most people spend their lives running from that meeting. The noise of the world has become our escape, an escape from our doubts, from our emptiness, from our unhealed wounds. We drown them in busyness, entertainment, productivity, and endless connection. We are more connected than ever, yet more disconnected from our own hearts. We think the opposite of stillness is movement, but it isn't. It's avoidance. We run from silence because silence holds a mirror, and in that mirror we must face the truth of who we are. But here's the paradox. The peace we keep chasing in the world can only be found when we stop running. The ancient masters knew this. They withdrew not because they hated the world, but because they wanted to see it clearly. To them, stillness was not withdrawal, it was awakening. When the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and vowed not to move until he found truth, he wasn't seeking something new. He was allowing what was always there to reveal itself. He said later, "I found the house builder, and now I am free." The house builder was the restless mind, the one that keeps constructing stories, identities, desires, fears. When the mind grows still, that builder finally rests, and in that rest we find what all of us are secretly seeking, peace. Think of your own life for a moment. When was the last time you were truly still? Not scrolling, not planning, not reacting, just being. Maybe it was when you stood by the ocean and felt the wind on your face. Maybe when you watched your child sleep. Maybe when you sat quietly at dawn before the world woke up. In those rare moments, something inside you whispered, "This is it." That whisper is not random. It's the soul remembering what peace feels like. But in our noisy age, we have forgotten how to listen. We treat silence as a void to be filled instead of a sanctuary to be entered. We mistake stillness for laziness, calm for weakness, and quiet for emptiness. Yet every great mind who has walked this earth, from Socrates to Rumi to Thoreau, discovered that silence is not empty. It is full of awareness, full of presence, full of truth. Thoreau, who retreated to the woods at Walden Pond, wrote, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life." He wasn't running away from the world. He was running toward reality. He wanted to strip away everything that was not life, the noise, the rush, the endless doing, to find what it means simply to be. That's the essence of stillness. To live deliberately, consciously, and awake. And when you practice it, you begin to notice something subtle but profound. The world doesn't actually demand that you hurry. You've simply been conditioned to believe that stillness is waste. But look at nature. The tree doesn't rush to grow. The river doesn't force its flow. The stars don't compete to shine, and yet everything happens in perfect time. Stillness is not the opposite of progress. It is the rhythm that gives life its balance. In the modern world, we glorify movement, hustle culture, grind, optimization. We measure worth by productivity. We believe that if we are not moving, we are falling behind. But here's the hidden truth. Motion without direction is chaos. Activity without awareness is exhaustion. Stillness is not about stopping movement. It's about moving from a place of clarity instead of compulsion. It's the difference between reacting and responding, between surviving and living. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And self-mastery begins in stillness, in the pause between impulse and action. When you pause, you step outside the storm of reaction and into the clarity of choice. That pause is freedom. But stillness does not come easily. Our minds are like restless rivers, constantly flowing, looping, turning. The moment we sit down, the mind begins to chatter. What's next? What if? Why am I doing this? We try to silence it by force, but that only makes it louder. The mind cannot be beaten into silence. It must be loved into stillness. Imagine a wild horse. If you pull its reins too tight, it fights harder. But if you let it run, then slowly guide it, it begins to trust you. The mind is the same. The way to stillness is not control, it is awareness. You simply watch the mind without judgment, without trying to fix it. You observe your thoughts as clouds passing through the sky of awareness. Some are dark, some light, but all pass. The more you observe, the more distance you gain. And in that distance, stillness begins to appear, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Stillness, then, is not a state you create. It's the natural state that appears when you stop disturbing it. Lao Tzu compared it to muddy water. If you let it settle, it becomes clear. If you let it be, it becomes still. Your mind, too, is like that water. When you stop stirring it with anxiety, it becomes clear enough to reflect truth. And when you see clearly, life changes. You stop confusing busyness for purpose. You stop mistaking distraction for happiness. You stop chasing noise and begin to value quiet. Stillness doesn't mean withdrawal from life. It means engagement from a place of depth. You can be still in the middle of a crowd, calm in the midst of conflict, peaceful even while the world spins around you. Because stillness is not about where you are, it's about where your attention rests. Let's take a moment now, not as theory, but as practice. Close your eyes wherever you are. Feel the breath moving in and out, the rise and fall of your chest, the hum of distant sounds, the cars, the voices, the world continuing around you. And yet beneath all of it, there is something that doesn't move. That quiet awareness, that center that simply watches, that stillness, that is you. Not the thoughts, not the body, not the story, the awareness that sees it all. If you can touch that even for a few seconds each day, your life will begin to change in ways you can't imagine. You will begin to see that you are not the noise, you are the silence behind it. Not the waves, but the ocean itself. In ancient China, Lao Tzu wrote, "To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders." That's not poetry. It's physics of the spirit. When you are still, your perception changes. You stop seeing the world as something to conquer and start seeing it as something to cooperate with. From that stillness, creativity flows, intuition arises, wisdom awakens. Because truth does not shout, it whispers, and only a quiet mind can hear it. Yet, our society treats silence as unproductive, even dangerous. A person sitting quietly in a park looks suspicious, lazy, or lonely, but maybe they are the only one who's awake. The sages, monks, and mystics of old spent years cultivating stillness, not as escape, but as mastery, because they understood. If you can master your attention, you can master your world. If you can stay still when everything around you is shaking, you become unshakable. Stillness is not about sitting on a mountain, it's about finding the mountain within yourself. And when you stand upon it, the noise below no longer pulls you down. Our world today is louder than it has ever been. Algorithms are designed to hijack our attention. Marketing preys on our restlessness. Technology amplifies our every fear, every craving, every insecurity. We are told to always be doing something, consuming, commenting, producing, competing. And yet, all this doing leaves us emptier than before. The reason is simple. Stillness is the soul's natural state. When we abandon it, we lose balance. You can live your whole life chasing success and still feel lost. Because success achieved without stillness is hollow. You can have love, wealth, and fame, yet never taste peace. Because peace cannot be found in achievement. It blooms only in awareness. Stillness doesn't mean we stop living. It means we start living consciously. It means waking up from the hypnosis of noise and in the middle of the storm and realizing the storm was never outside. It was always within. And when the mind becomes still, the world becomes quiet too. Because what we call the world is only a reflection of our own minds. When the inner noise stops, the outer chaos loses its power. As the Tao says, when there is silence within, even thunder cannot disturb you. So, my friend, the question is not, how do I find stillness? The question is, what am I willing to let go of so that stillness can find me? Let go of the need to always be right. Let go of the addiction to busyness. Let go of the fear of missing out. Let go of the compulsion to fill every silence. Because in letting go, you don't lose yourself, you finally meet yourself. Wisdom for modern living is not about escaping the noise of life. It's about remembering the silence that has always been beneath it. In the next part, we'll explore how to cultivate stillness as a practice, how to live quietly even in a loud world, to carry peace within you no matter what happens around you. Because stillness is not an act, it's a way of being. There is a quiet revolution waiting to happen in each of us, the revolution of stillness. We don't need to move to the mountains or give up our phones. We only need to rediscover the forgotten rhythm of silence in the middle of sound. In the noise of the marketplace, in the hum of the city, in the tension of everyday life, stillness is possible. Because stillness is not the absence of movement, it is the presence of awareness. The masters of old lived among people, walked through the same chaos we face, yet remained untouched inside. How? Because they learned that peace is not found by changing the world, but by changing the way we meet the world. Lao Tzu said, "Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear?" This is the first key to stillness, patience. We are taught to react instantly, to reply, respond, post, argue, decide. But stillness asks for space. When you stop rushing, you begin to see that not everything requires a reaction. Most of our suffering is not from what happens, but from how quickly we react to it. We mistake urgency for importance, noise for truth, movement for progress. But in patience, perspective is born. The things that once felt enormous shrink in the light of time. The words that once hurt lose their sting. The emotions that seemed overwhelming dissolve. Stillness teaches us that not everything deserves our energy, and not everything needs to be solved right now. The second key is attention. Our minds today are scattered, split between past and future, between dozens of tabs, messages, and unfinished thoughts. We live in fragments, never whole. Stillness gathers those fragments back together. When you focus fully on one thing, one breath, one sound, one action, you return to wholeness. This is why monks sweep floors slowly, why tea masters pour water with care, why calligraphers breathe before every stroke. They are not performing chores, they are training attention, because attention is presence, and presence is stillness in motion. Even in the busiest day, if you wash your hands with awareness, eat with gratitude, or walk with attention, that moment becomes sacred, it becomes alive, it becomes quiet, even in noise. The third key is acceptance. Modern people think acceptance means giving up. But in truth, acceptance is the highest form of wisdom. It doesn't mean we approve of everything. It means we stop fighting reality. And the moment you stop fighting reality, the noise inside begins to fade. The Stoics understood this perfectly. Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and you will go on well." He wasn't teaching passivity. He was teaching freedom. Because resistance is what exhausts us. We spend our days trying to bend the world to our will and then wonder why we are tired. Stillness means aligning with life, not because you have no power, but because you see that life's rhythm is wiser than your plans. When we stop forcing outcomes, life begins to move through us, not against us. The fourth key is awareness. To be still is to watch yourself, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Watch how your mind races, how emotions rise and fall, how thoughts come and go. You begin to see patterns, the same triggers, the same fears, the same habits. And through awareness, transformation begins. Because what you observe, you outgrow. You cannot be free of what you do not see. When you watch your mind, a distance appears between the noise and the one who hears the noise. And in that distance, calm is born. You start to realize, I am not my thoughts, I am the awareness behind them. The thoughts pass, but awareness remains. It is the eternal silence behind all sound. The fifth key is discipline. Stillness may sound effortless, but it requires practice. You cannot expect a lifetime of restlessness to vanish in a day. The mind is like a river that has been running wild for years. It will not quiet down the first time you ask. Discipline doesn't mean forcing silence. It means creating the space where silence can appear. Set aside moments each day, just a few minutes, to sit without distraction. No phone, no music, no goals. Just sit, breathe, listen. At first, it will be uncomfortable. The noise of your mind will feel louder than ever. That's because for the first time, you're hearing what's always been there. But if you stay, if you keep returning again and again, the noise will start to settle. And beneath it, you'll find something extraordinary. Peace. The peace that was never gone, only buried. In Japan, there is a concept called ma, the space between sounds, the pause between actions. In music, it's the silence that makes the melody beautiful. In art, it's the empty space that gives shape to the form. In life, ma is the pause that gives meaning to motion. We have lost this in our modern world. We fill every space, every pause, every silence. But without space, life becomes noise. Without stillness, beauty cannot breathe. Stillness is the ma of the soul. It's what makes meaning possible. Imagine your life as a song. If it were all noise, no pauses, no silence, it would be unbearable. It's the spaces between notes that create harmony. In the same way, stillness gives your days rhythm. It allows you to feel the depth of joy, to hear the whisper of intuition, to know when to act and when to wait. Because stillness is not inaction, it is the birthplace of wise action. When the mind is quiet, decisions arise naturally. When the heart is calm, truth becomes clear. This is why the wisest people seem slow to speak and calm in movement. They are not slow, they are listening to that silent intelligence beneath all thought. Stillness also brings strength. The modern world mistakes noise for power. We think those who speak loudest, move fastest, win. But real power is the one that needs no noise. The mountain does not shout to prove its height. The ocean does not argue to prove its depth. They are powerful because they are still. When you are still, you no longer react. You respond. And response is strength. Reaction is weakness. The calm person is not emotionless. They are anchored. Like a deep-rooted tree, they can sway without falling. And this is perhaps the greatest gift of stillness, resilience. Because when you are no longer at the mercy of noise, of others' opinions, of outcomes, of fears, you become unshakable. But we must also remember that stillness is not isolation. It's not cutting yourself off from the world. It's learning to be in the world without being of the chaos. Stillness makes you more present, not less. It opens your heart instead of closing it. When your mind is quiet, you start to hear others more clearly. You begin to see the pain behind anger, the fear beneath arrogance, the beauty behind simplicity. Stillness doesn't make you distant. It makes you compassionate. Because when you no longer drown in your own noise, you can listen deeply to the noise of others and respond with understanding. In many spiritual traditions, silence was seen as the voice of the divine. In Christianity, the mystics called it the still small voice. In Zen, it is the sound of one hand clapping. In Sufism, it is the quiet in which love speaks. All point to the same truth. When you quiet the outer world, you begin to hear the inner one. And that inner voice, calm, compassionate, clear, is the voice of wisdom itself. But to hear it, you must be still. So, how do we live stillness in daily life, in traffic, in meetings, in the noise of family and responsibility? It begins with awareness, continues with patience, and deepens with compassion. When you eat, eat slowly. Taste your food. When you walk, feel your feet touch the earth. When you speak, speak with intention. When you listen, listen fully. These small acts are not insignificant. They are the seeds of a still life. Because stillness is not found in retreating from the world, but in being awake in the middle of it. In the next part, we'll explore the power of inner silence, how stillness becomes strength, creativity, and spiritual clarity. We'll learn how silence is not emptiness, but the source of everything, and how those who master it move through life with effortless grace. Because the world may be noisy, but peace has never gone anywhere. It has only been waiting for you to stop and listen. When stillness deepens, something extraordinary begins to happen. The noise doesn't disappear, but it no longer disturbs you. You can walk through the same world, face the same problems, hear the same chaos, and yet remain untouched inside. The outer world continues its rhythm. Emails arrive, people argue, plans change, storms rise, but within there is an unshakable calm, like the ocean beneath the waves. This is not apathy. This is awareness. You are no longer lost in the motion of life. You are resting in the awareness that watches it all unfold. And from that stillness, something subtle but powerful arises: clarity. When the mind is quiet, truth becomes visible. Decisions that once felt impossible become simple. Conflicts that once consumed you lose their power. You begin to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. Because noise clouds perception, but stillness reveals it. A philosopher once said, "The quieter you become, the more you can hear." Not just hear the outer world, but the inner voice, the one that whispers truth beneath thought. That voice is always there, but it speaks softly, drowned out by the roar of endless doing, planning, worrying. When you return to stillness, you rediscover it. And when you begin to live by that voice, that gentle, intuitive knowing, life starts to flow in ways that feel effortless. In ancient Taoist philosophy, there's a term called Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It means acting in perfect harmony with the natural flow of life. When you act from stillness, you no longer push against reality. Your actions become like water, fluid, natural, powerful without force. You respond instead of react. You move when it's time, rest when it's time. This is the secret of grace. The wise move with life, not against it. They understand that the river knows the way better than the boatman. In this state, everything you do, from speaking to creating, from working to resting, carries a quiet power. It's not the power of domination, but of alignment. Stillness doesn't make you passive, it makes you precise. Because now, your actions come from clarity, not confusion. But perhaps the greatest gift of stillness is not clarity, it's compassion. When you are still, your heart opens. You begin to sense the shared pulse of life in everyone and everything. You see that the same restlessness that once tormented you also torments others. The same longing for peace, the same search for meaning, the same hidden ache. And from that realization, judgment dissolves. You stop blaming, stop competing, stop needing to be right, because you see that everyone is just trying to find their way home. Stillness reveals the truth that beneath our differences, we are all made of the same silence, the same consciousness, the same awareness looking through 1,000 eyes. When you touch that silence within you, you begin to feel it in others, in a stranger's eyes, in a child's laughter, in the quiet rustle of the trees. You realize that life has never been divided. Only our minds have been noisy enough to believe it so. The mystics of every tradition spoke of this moment, the merging of stillness and love. In stillness, the ego fades, and in its place, love flows naturally. Not the love that clings, not the love that needs, but the love that simply is. It is the quiet joy of being alive, the soft tenderness that sees beauty in imperfection, the compassion that does not need a reason. In this love, even pain becomes sacred because it deepens your understanding. Even sorrow becomes precious because it softens your heart. You start to see the perfection in imperfection, the order in chaos, the silence behind the sound. Stillness is also the birthplace of creativity. The world's greatest works, music, poetry, invention, all emerge from silence. Mozart once said, "The music is not in the notes, but in the silence between them." Every artist knows this truth. Inspiration does not come from thinking harder, but from listening deeper. When you are still, ideas come to you effortlessly. The right words, the right timing, the right insights, they rise from the silence like ripples from a deep well. Because silence is not empty, it is full of intelligence. It is the space where the universe whispers. If you can learn to rest there, even for a few moments a day, you will begin to draw from a wisdom far greater than the mind. Stillness then is not escape, it's the return to your original nature. Beneath all the layers of noise, fear, and striving, there is something timeless within you, pure, aware, at peace. That is who you truly are. You are not the storm, you are the sky. You are not the noise, you are the silence that holds it. You are not the chaos, you are the consciousness in which chaos appears and disappears. When you see this truth directly, even for an instant, life becomes lighter. You stop taking everything so personally. You stop trying to control what was never yours to control. And in that surrender, you find freedom. Stillness does not mean life will stop testing you. Storms will still come. People will still disappoint you. Plans will still fail. But something inside will have shifted. the way you meet it all. Instead of collapsing, you will breathe. Instead of reacting, you will observe. Instead of drowning, you will float. And that is enough. That is mastery. That is what it means to live with peace in a noisy world. Because the world does not need your noise. It needs your calm. It needs your clarity. It needs your stillness. In our age of distraction, stillness is rebellion. In a culture that rewards speed, silence is strength. In a society that glorifies chaos, calm is power. When you become still, you stop being manipulated by the noise. You begin to see clearly what truly matters. You act with intention instead of impulse. You speak with purpose instead of reaction. You live with depth instead of distraction. The modern world doesn't need more movement. It needs more meaning. And meaning begins in stillness. So take this as an invitation, not to withdraw from life, but to meet it differently. Each morning before the world begins, sit quietly for a few minutes. Listen to your breath. Feel your presence. Do nothing. Let the noise settle like dust in sunlight. And when you rise, move slowly. Speak thoughtfully. Listen deeply. Bring that stillness into your actions, into your conversations, into your choices. Let it be the silent strength behind everything you do, because when you carry stillness inside you, the world cannot disturb you. You walk through chaos untouched. You meet conflict with peace. You face change with grace. That is the true power of stillness. Not to escape the world, but to illuminate it. And so we come to the end of this reflection. But remember, stillness never ends. It is always here, waiting for you beneath the noise. When life becomes too loud, when your mind feels heavy, when the world demands too much, return to the breath, return to awareness, return home to the silence that has never left you, because within that silence lies everything you've been searching for. Thank you for being here and for sharing this moment of stillness with me. If this reflection brought peace to your heart, I invite you to help share that peace with others. Please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who may need calm in their life, and subscribe to Wisdom for Modern Living for more journeys into timeless wisdom and inner peace. Together, let us bring a little more stillness into this noisy world. One breath, one pause, one moment of awareness at a time. Thank you for listening. May you walk in peace, live with clarity, and rest in the stillness of your own being.